All right, hey guys, this is Martin again from How to Make Mobile Games. This is my third day in Shanghai, so I thought I'd show you a little bit around the city. And this is Jing'an Temple. It's not actually a temple, but this actually the temple is just over that way down there. This is sort of one of the main streets in Shanghai. It's called Nanjing Road. So there's a lot of like cool malls, high fashion malls, whatever you want to call them. Marc Jacobs over there, Armani over there. This is actually a new mall down here. This has only been here for like a year or so, maybe. That building, behind the tree there, I can't really see it, but that one that I just showed you a minute ago is also new. And it's kind of like one of the commercial centers of Shanghai, and it's a little bit newer. People's Square is like the central park of Shanghai, and then there's Nanjing East Road, which is like the one that this connects to, and that's like the sort of old. I think it's the older commercial center now. It's probably the main road in Shanghai, that one, but it's actually a little bit older and not quite as cool as this one, in my opinion. What I like about Shanghai as well is they have a mix of old and new. So you see like these, hopefully you can see like these older houses here. These ones here, these are now like boutique shops. So they're like fashion shops now that they've kind of been done up. Some of the old houses in the middle of Shanghai are really kind of old and falling apart. But some of them have been done up real nice, and there's sort of like a nice mix of old and new. But that's the thing in China, there's always a big mix of money and not so much money, for want of a better phrase. And I think because China's like grown so fast this past 20 to 30 years, there is a big disparity between rich and poor in China, far more than the UK. The rich people in China are super rich, and the poor people in China are super poor. There's a bigger wealth gap. In England, we don't feel that so much, in my opinion. When a poor person is poor, or they don't have a lot of money generally, they might not be on the street, they might still have a house or a room or something like this. But if you're poor in China, then you're really poor. So, and I was speaking to my friend yesterday. This is interesting, and maybe you guys will find it interesting too. But we were just talking about China and how it's kind of been booming this past 10 years especially. Because I think China opened their doors to the West in sort of the 20 or 30 years ago. I'm terrible with history anyway, but the point is that recently China has been doing like a huge amount of construction and development, basically trying to grow as fast as possible. Now the problem is that has been built on lent money, so credit. So they've got the money from the banks in order to build the buildings and the new roads and the train systems and all this stuff. But obviously when you do that, when you loan money from the bank, then money is created, but you have to pay interest on that, which is the big problem. And the same thing happens in the US at the moment, I believe. The fact that the US national debt is something like, in the trillions or whatever it may be. That was an older street down there as well, which is pretty cool. So that's the problem with China as well. My friend thinks that in China they're going to have the same problem. They're going to have the same situation like they did in the US in 2008, and maybe even worse, because the amount of lending that's happened in China to build up its economy is huge, far more than the US. And eventually that's going to come back and bite them in the ass, because you're going to have to pay back your loans at some point. So it's that whole sort of conspiracy system that we were talking about on the forum, about the banks. They basically, when they lend money, if you lend $1 million, then that money is created into existence, and there's $1 million extra in the system, but the problem is that the interest is not created in the system. So when you lend $1 million, you have to give 10% back, so $1 million and $100,000 or whatever. that extra $100,000 is never created into the system, and so eventually people have to lose. There has to be forfeits, there has to be foreclosures, and that's what might happen in China. So, and the housing at the moment, the prices are going super high, I think because of speculation. Houses prices just going up and up and up and up year on year, and that's a bubble that just can't be sustained. Again, I'm no expert on that. It might be, it might just continue to grow. I don't know, but who knows? I think eventually a bubble that will happen in the housing market. My friend thinks it will happen as well, and things will just crash in China. So even though the US dollar has been going down and down and down this past couple of years, my friend actually thinks that the US dollar is going to be better than the RMB. And the other side of that as well is that even though with China sort of growing and the RMB getting stronger and stronger, okay, China's biggest industry, or if you want to call it that, is export. Textiles, metal, food, whatever. They export a lot. Why? Why is it so successful in China? Because China is cheap. The RMB is cheap. If the RMB goes stronger, that means prices go up, salaries go higher, and it just doesn't make sense to purchase stuff in China anymore. Take Shanghai, for example. If I have to pay a developer in Shanghai, a game developer, sort of like 15,000 RMB a month, well, there's no point. Why come to Shanghai to do that? You know, and it's just, especially for a small business like us, cash flow is king, and keeping your costs down is important as well. And that's not like me being tight-fisted or stingy with money. That's just business sense. You can't blow your money on high salaries if you don't need to. If you are a small business and you want to sustain yourself. So, you know, if the RMB goes higher and higher and higher, then what's the point? Customers will not come to China. This doesn't make sense. So I'm hoping that the RMB will not go super high, because most of our money is made in the US. But it also means that if the RMB does go super high, then there's not really much point in opening up a big team or office here. This is Plaza 66. This is a massive office building, and then downstairs is the Plaza 66 over there, this building. So that's probably one of the trendiest malls in Shanghai. It's got Louis Vuitton and Hermes and Fendi and all those cool high-end brands. This one is a pretty nice hotel as well, and I'm actually going to pop in there in a moment and maybe get some food. There was a Starbucks somewhere. I might check out a sandwich in there. I don't know what to eat. That's the problem. Like, when I'm in my hometown, I know what to eat, and because my wife's mother does a lot of cooking for us, so. But now that I'm out to fend for myself and buy for myself, I've got to refigure it out. So this is a cool building over here. It's very old and traditional, and I have no idea what it is, but I believe it's of Russian influence, just by the look of it. Honestly, I don't know. I wish I could explain a little bit more about the history of Shanghai or something, but I've got my blinkers on, you know, those horse blinkers when it comes to life. I basically focus on game development and publishing and building business, and that's what I do. Everything else is almost a blur. So anyway, guys, I'll do another video soon, and let me know if you liked this. Please like and subscribe. Bye bye.